Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Rick with Broadman Baptist Church. This is the Broadman Word for November 7th, 2022. I wanted to direct you to our discussion that we've been having in church about Thessalonians, in fact, 2 Thessalonians, and generally speaking about the difficulties that they've been having. They were certainly in a tough situation. Christianity was in its infancy, spreading, but still in its infancy. They had to believe against culture and Roman rule and Jewish tradition and society in general. They had the Greeks that basically laughed them off as just another idea. And so there was a lot going on around them. But as we've been discussing, the Apostle Paul in these letters, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, is addressing their need to stay strong in the faith and their need to remain focused. And in 2nd Thessalonians, as we've learned in the last few chapters, he goes very much into foretelling the future for them, not prophesying, just in fact informing them of the future, in particular their concerns about the day of the Lord. And that's what I want to talk with you about today, is being secure. That's our topic. And I wonder if the Thessalonians were actually living secure in the gospel, if they were in fact truly understanding the teaching that Paul had left with them. He hadn't been with them all that long. And so in this second letter comes very much close to the first one, not very long after. And so we see Paul's worried about them. But for us, we have the benefit of time. We have the knowledge of Scripture that they didn't have. Not that they didn't have the message of the gospel, but we've certainly learned a lot over the thousands of years that there's been since that time. But the central issue remains. Their worry, their confusion, their stress, their anxieties came about because they didn't understand the message completely, and they had been influenced, unduly influenced by false teachers. So what I want to drill down on then is we have an abundance of false teachers and false teaching going on now, and we have plenty of reason to have our faith tested. And the thing that's going to keep us centered on our walk, that keep us focused, is in fact the security of Scripture, the security of what we know of God in Jesus Christ and our salvation, and mostly our security in the gospel message, that we are in fact living as we're supposed to live. We are in fact professing what is true. We are in fact moving forward with the good purposes of God to secure his kingdom, or to further his kingdom here until he decides it's time for Jesus to come back. So then we really shouldn't have the worries and anxieties of the world about anything. Really, we shouldn't fear anybody or anything. We shouldn't fear any particular time in history, any particular event. We really shouldn't, because we have foreknowledge of how it's going to be. We know what's going to happen, and we know the good purposes God has for us. And in fact, even upon our physical death, our leaving this world, it's a reward that we get to go be with him in heaven. These things should strengthen us, should encourage us, should enable us to live, in fact, secure in the gospel message, because we know what's going on. We know how this is all going to work out, And we know what God has promised us, and that God has never not delivered on a promise. So, brothers and sisters, what I want you to do then is to start living secure in the knowledge of who you are to God, and who God is and what his promises are. And use that as a springboard. Use that to sort of turn up the intensity of your light, the light of Christ in you, and to make your evangelism, your walk, your purpose a little bit more laser-like and not quite so broad, and perhaps not even restrained as it might be in these times where it's difficult to know what to do. We know what to do. Scripture tells us so. And we just need to have the encouragement, the foresight, the strength, the will to move the kingdom forward as God has expressed that he wants us to do. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on not having the worries and anxieties of the world, because we know of our future and that we know we are in fact secure in the gospel message. Hey, listen, I love you. I hope you have a marvelous day in the Lord, and I'll talk to you next time.